Welcome to the Medical Bridge. Let's get right into it. If you're in your mid-30s to 45, trying to conceive, receive normal labs, but you feel wired and exhausted, brain fog by 2 p.m., clothes fitting weird, workouts not working, or libido dipping already, and you figure I'm way too young for this to be happening, it's exactly what we're trying to break down in this episode and talk about all of these pain points and what you can do at home to fix it. You're not broken, but your signals are. And I want to talk a lot about this idea, this concept, because signals can sound like something non-obvious, non-intuitive, but they're really straightforward. In less than 25 minutes, I plan on being able to do this episode. I'll show you a 90-day plan to flip back all of these symptoms and get everything dialed in. All right, we're going to jump right in. So some of the things that people experience that is a signaling issue within their body, meaning that their hormones may be at normal levels, and they're eating well enough, they're like doing all the right things, and yet you're not feeling or seeing any of the results of that. So if you're exercising 5-6 days a week and you're eating well, you're getting in your protein, you take all of your supplements, you try to sleep well and you try to recover, but you still feel like you're aging rapidly, this isn't an issue that you lack the right level of hormones or lack the right concentrations of things in your body, but just that they're misfiring, or in this case, the signals just aren't heard loud enough. And the reason that a signal analogy is so important is your body uses chemical messengers that we refer to as hormones. There's also ones called neurotransmitters, which are like hormones, but affect the nervous system more primarily than the endocrine system, which is all about hormones. If they don't reach their target tissue adequately, or if they do in abundance, but that the target tissue doesn't receive that message, none of the downstream effects of that hormone or neurotransmitter does the thing it's supposed to do, and these are the symptoms that you'll feel with it. So I'm going to list out first all of the pain points that people would experience in these issues. Some of them aren't physical pain. They're just things that cause people mental stress or fatigue. Why it's actually happening. I'm going to keep these short and sweet because they could get very in-depth, and I could do a course on every single one of them, which could be a 16-week long course. And if people want to see that, I could definitely draw that out. Then I'm going to talk about how I've used this in the past to fix people and what we did and the things that you could do over the next 90 days on your own to fix these. And then what things you could do if you're trying to do these and it's not working. All right. So first, if you feel afternoon brain fog without hangovers or missed meals, this is a huge one. This chemical signaling means that your brain, which is secreting neurotransmitters, is either not receiving the message back from the organs, or it's sending out those neurotransmitters and they're not going anywhere, like a traffic jam building up in your body. Or if you miss meals, which would then send the neurotransmitters back to the brain to tell you that you're fed and it's time to digest and utilize those things to build new tissue or do all of the different things that nutrition gives us for our metabolism, the signaling is breaking down between the brain and the gut in this case, leading to that brain fog without hangovers, right? So if you're hungover, it's a totally different story. So we'll get to that later. But if you're wired at night, exhausted in the morning, and can't shut off or can't recover, this is another one of the exact same problems. This has to do a lot more with cortisol, which we'll get to in the next topic. If your clothes fit worse than they used to with the same scale weight, or you're softer where you used to be more firm, this is another one of those signal breakdowns. If you're training harder but getting softer, or random soreness lingers way longer than 24 hours after your workout, this is a key pain point. If your libido is down and you've noticed that that's changing and you're in your mid-30s and you're figuring to yourself, shouldn't this happen in my 60s? It should. But it does start to decline usually in the 40s, but there's things we could do to turn that around. If you notice your skin changing faster than you expected, so if you start to see changes in skin elasticity, skin drooping, more fine lines, and you're figuring like, again, this should be happening in my 50s or 60s. Why is this happening? This is a signaling problem. Again, it is not that your skin can't grow and reproduce new collagen and become firm again. It's that the signals that your body's sending out to those tissues aren't being received, and so your skin isn't turning over faster. One of those could be that you're not actually resting at night when you should, but we'll talk about that. Now, you're stressed about fertility, your hormones, or having energy for family life, and yet you're just working the same job that you've been working for the last 5 or 6 years. And only now are you feeling like you can't even catch up or find the energy for that. If you have really young kids, you could literally just be having a lack of energy because of your children. But if you're not, or if they're not 3 months old anymore and you've been getting some consistent sleep, if that stress is weighing on you that you don't have enough energy for your family life and you're only getting it all out at work and then you're running on fumes by 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., this is also the same issue with signaling. Now, I want to reiterate, this isn't willpower. Signaling is about a key and lock mechanism. It's not just how many keys you have or a master key. It's that if all of the keys aren't fitting in the right locks, if the right hormones aren't meeting the right receptors, or if the right neurotransmitters aren't stimulating the right neurotransmitter receptors, you have all of this noise going on in your body. Your nervous system, your endocrine system is operating, but none of those little transmitters or signals are reaching the specific lock that that key is made for. And what happens is you get all of the symptoms I just listed above. So why is it happening? Pretty much cortisol is hijacking your system. So your stress chemistry is literally stealing your recovery and blunting your fertility signals, or your hormone signals in this case, even if you're not looking to conceive. If you're looking to conceive in the near future, this will blunt your fertility signals and affect if you're able to conceive or not. And this goes for males and females, of course. For men, it would be sperm motility, quality, or sperm quantity can all be diminished due to these things. For women, it'll affect the actual egg quantity and limit the number of like little batteries that each of your eggs has, which will lower that. And that'll actually show up in blood work. If you get your AMH tested and your AMH is low, that's an indicator that like your stress chemistry is actually deteriorating the quality and quantity of the eggs left that you have for fertility. All right, so when the receptors for the cortisol become resistant to hormones, that's the problem. So the hormones are the key and the receptors are the locks. Normal estrogen, progesterone, testosterone could be getting to the right receptors. Those are the keys, but the lock is not actually accepting it. So if the locks feel sticky and the signal doesn't land, it's actually because cortisol is so abundant that it's blocking the receptor or blocking the hormone from being able to latch onto that receptor. All right. One simple thing you could do that we're going to talk about is gaining muscle mass. Your muscle is a metabolic organ. It's not just about strength and moving your bones and being able to flex. And most people think of the muscular system strictly as something that helps with movement. But remember, if you have less muscle, your metabolism actually slows down. You have worse blood sugar control, and all of this leads to insulin resistance and worse signaling. So it still comes back to signaling, okay? When these signals decrease, something called growth hormone, when your growth hormone pulses at night when you're sleeping, it'll actually decrease the pulse if the signaling gets worse. So weaker pulses decrease, leading to slower repair and slower muscle gains. This is a cyclical loop, right? So you don't have as much muscle, you're becoming less firm in areas that you had muscle, or you're exercising and you're noticing that you're not gaining muscle or losing fat. What's happening is if the cortisol is hijacking that, blocking the receptors for your hormones, and then lowering your muscle mass, then when your growth hormone is meant to be pulsed at night when you're sleeping, the pulse for the growth hormone is actually weaker because there's less muscle, all right? And that'll slow your repair and then inhibit the ability to gain more muscle. So that's a really bad feedback loop to get stuck in. As this goes on for a long period of time, say this has been going on for 4 years or 5 years or something like that. That could have just been from like an illness you suffered a long time ago, or it could simply be from the fact that you're aging a little bit quicker due to lifestyle. So not eating enough protein, or doing too much intermittent fasting without recovery, or traveling a lot and not getting a lot of recovery in between, long days with not a lot of sleep, doing that 5 nights in a row and then going out drinking on the weekends. These things all compensate. Not to say that you shouldn't have fun, but you should try to balance them out, And then, of course, one of the simplest ways to increase hormone signaling is to get outside when it's sunny and get natural light. So natural light is like one of the ways that our body maintains its circadian rhythms and keeps a cyclical loop in place so that one hormone can't hijack all the other ones like cortisol. So after this occurs for a while, your mitochondria, which are like the little batteries in your cells, actually begin to slow down. So when the cells make less energy because they have a less quantity of mitochondria, that leads to fatigue and cravings. And often the cravings are for salt or for sweets. When this starts to happen, so many systems start to slow down. So when the mitochondria start to decrease and you start actually noticing way less energy and feeling like you're running on empty fumes and getting fatigue, it's not 8 or 9 at night and you haven't been up since 6 a.m. Like if you're getting fatigued at 8 or 9 at night, but you wake up at 5:30 and crush the day, that's okay. That's not fatigue. That just means it's time to go to sleep. But if you haven't been super active and you haven't woken up early and crushed the day and you're fatigued at like 5 o'clock or earlier, that means the mitochondria are slowing down significantly. When this happens, this leads to your nervous system getting stuck in fight or flight. This leads to collagen being broke down at a much greater rate than your collagen can repair. This leads to joint changes that feel like you're sore and aching or not recovering from your workouts. This could just be like really painful muscles and joints, and you're wondering, why am I so tight? I actually do exercise. I'm relatively active. I shouldn't feel this way. Or my skin is changing way faster than I anticipate. That's literally because the collagen breakdown is occurring, which makes up the joints and the skin, way faster than they can repair themselves. And your repair mechanism would be shut down in this case because of all the things we mentioned before. Cortisol hijacking the system, the receptors for hormones being resistant because they're blocked by cortisol, a decrease in muscle mass or muscle concentration, not enough of it, a decrease in growth hormone pulse at night when you're sleeping, and a slowing of the mitochondria. As a result, we have collagen breaking down, fertility decreasing, and your nervous system being locked in the sympathetic fight or flight. So you'll feel wired but tired, sleep lighter, and have poorer recovery. So you'll sleep at night, you'll feel easily disturbed, or even if you sleep 8 or 9 hours, you woke up feeling exhausted or like you didn't recover from the day before. That could be physically if you worked out. That could be mentally if you're like, why am I stressed? It's Wednesday, the week just started, I'm only halfway through. These are all indicators that the mitochondria are actually slowing down. So why this is an impact on fertility is eggs don't mature evenly. When ovulation gets messed up, is either disrupted or just isn't happening efficiently due to all these hormone imbalances, and they get messy, your lining under prepares, right? And then the under preparation of the lining either leads to a shorter luteal phase, which is the time period from when you ovulate to when you have your cycle. So if this is less than 11 days, then your cycle will be less than 27 days. That's how you know that your fertility is starting to be impacted by your mitochondria slowing down from all of the above listed issues we went over. For men on the other partner side, quality markers start to lag. So it's not necessary that this went on long enough that your sperm quantity decreases, but the morphology of the tails could be affected, which would lower fertility. If you haven't tried to conceive, you may not know if that's the case. The other way you'd be able to know is that the quality of the sperm starts to decrease. You can literally get it tested at a urologist, or you could assume it's happening if you have all of the other libido issues that we mentioned before. So a decrease in those. So all of these things can lead to many conditions. A lot of these conditions are completely treatable, but in the context of fertility, since that's something that I specialize in, I just want to take 1 or 2 minutes to discuss for people who are on that, in that time of their lives, or on that spectrum of issues. This can lead to PCOS, cycles being all over the place, normal labs, and but conception not happening, low AMH, sleep and stress is all disrupted, affecting your actual egg quality, or recurrent loss of pregnancies if you are conceiving. So this is a very small percentage of the population, but I speak specifically to my listeners who have this issue because this is something I specialize in, and everything I just talked about is the thing that needs to be corrected in order for fertility rates to boost. Okay, so here's a 90-day plan for what to do if all of the things I mentioned above happen to you. If they all happen to you, this could take a little bit longer than 90 days, or at least the full 90 days. If only 1 or 2 of the things I discussed are a problem for you, maybe this will only take you 30 to 45 days to correct. All right. But essentially, you have to utilize behavioral changes in order to instantiate or make the changes necessary to be able to alter these things, because these things are not very easy to correct. So if you don't change behavior, it's not like taking one supplement will get rid of this. Some people, I just give them a better workout protocol, which we're going to go over in a few seconds, and I tell them to drink more water and stay hydrated and get to bed at the same time. Those cases are so easy. In 30 days, their body does a complete turnaround. That just means they were very early on in this breakdown of signaling issues. Right? But we could get all the way to the other end of the spectrum for people that would be coming in to see me with fertility problems. And they have all of the above mentioned symptoms. So I have to use supplements, sleep, nutrition, exercise alteration, weekly acupuncture, peptide therapy for hormone balance, increase in metabolic rate by doing HIIT training, oxygen therapy, recovery protocols like red light at the clinic that I mix with the bioresonance mats to lower inflammation. I'll even give them to patients to use at home if they need it daily. So the spectrum of treatment for these things could be quite wide, all right? But overall, the things that need to be worked on and completed at that time would have to be specifically starting with exercise. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're getting outside and grounding yourself to exercise during the waking hours of the day or before the sun goes down. It's going to be very difficult for you to recover from workouts if you're doing workouts past 7 o'clock and the sun's already set at 6:30. The reason for that is all of your hormones that get triggered by natural sunlight when the sun starts to go down, and assuming that you're not inside the entire day. If you try to get a workout in past that time, you're literally just exhausting your system and getting none of the recovery because you just spiked your growth hormone, but in the context of working out before you should be starting to recover and go to sleep. So the best thing you could do exercise wise is to not overtrain. Just try training 3 times a week for like 30 minutes. If you like going to a class and the class is an hour long, maybe just do it 2 times a week. And then at home, do little movement snacks, which means a workout twice a week or something like that, done with extreme intensity, but for 5 minutes. So your body's not exhausted afterwards. Get that done early in the morning. So if you go to a workout class, try to get to a workout class before you go to work. If you don't like a class, get a pair of dumbbells at home or a band and do as many repetitions of whatever exercise you've chosen for 30 seconds with a 10-second break and repeat for 8 cycles. So let's say you want to increase muscle mass in your legs because your upper body is well defined, but you've noticed that your legs have kind of thinned out or are just becoming less firm and kind of soft. Then maybe you just do air squats with jumping jacks. So you do 20 air squats over 20 seconds, take a 10-second break, then do 20 seconds of jumping jacks, then a 10-second break, then 20 seconds of squats, 10-second break, and then run that cycle 8 to 10 times. You do that for as intense as a time as you can to sustain for as long as you possibly can. Let's say 6 to 8 minutes is your goal. You're doing about 8 to 10 cycles and you're done. You've done a few minutes of a workout for the whole day and you've completed it. You've started the day with a win. You've given your body the metabolic kick to go throughout the day, and you've instantiated to your body that you've already started to be physically active, so it needs to secrete all of the things to increase your metabolism. That'll help with appetite. So if you're really hungry, it'll actually lower your appetite and make it a more healthy appetite. If you have no appetite, this will stimulate a relatively healthy appetite, not like I want to go binge sugar and snacks or fast foods. Okay. For nutrition, I want to keep it very simple. When you wake up, you want to have about 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking. So if you have to go to an exercise class and that exercise class is 45 minutes long and you have to wake up 30 minutes before that, you're going to miss this window of 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking. So I'd actually recommend then maybe you bump it up to 50 grams of protein if you're going to go through an intense exercise class. If you're doing the at-home workouts and you're doing the Tabata protocol I just mentioned with the movement snacks, 30 grams of protein is enough. And you'll do it within 30 minutes of waking. So you wake up, you do your little movement snack that's 10 minutes. You go for a brisk walk outside to absorb the sunlight since you're already going to be outside doing that protocol. If it's the winter time, try to do it in the window so you can actually see outside, and then go for a brisk walk outdoors. You don't have to do the actual workout outdoors if you can't tolerate the cold, although that'd be really good for your metabolism if you try to do that. You're going to then consume your 30 grams of protein, and on the way to work, or if you work from home, in between that, then you consume the carbs. So the reason is if you consume carbohydrates prior to your workout, you'll burn the wrong types of calories and the wrong types of fuel, and you've already went through your carbs, so you'll experience cognitive fatigue and brain fog throughout the day. To fix that, you get that nutrition in after. You get the carbohydrate nutrition after your workout, okay? And then you get the protein in on an empty stomach. You should also increase fat intake, but it should be healthy fats. Healthy fats are like avocados, nut oils, nut butters, meat, from protein. Those have natural fats in them that aren't bad for you, unless you have specific allergies, of course. So you should consume fats later on in the day so it stabilizes your blood sugar. So one of the other things you're going to add for your nutrition stack is at least 30 to 40 grams of protein and some fat thrown into that. So that could just be eggs, or that could be protein chips dipped in guacamole. Something like that, where you get fats and proteins mixed together right before you go to sleep. So this will increase and pulse your growth hormone, but it'll also ensure that you're getting the adequate protein at the right time and the adequate fat to blunt blood sugar spikes while you're sleeping, because that'll totally disrupt your sleep and make it uneasy, which will make you feel wired. All right. So that covers exercise and nutrition. If you do that for 30 to 90 days, this can cure the majority of the issues. If this still isn't enough, and you want to track your markers of how well you're feeling. So one simple marker is brain fog throughout the day. How's the wired feeling and the exhaustion in the morning and the wired feeling halfway through the day? Do your clothes fit differently after doing this? Does your softness of your body become more firm, and is your libido increasing? After 90 days, you'll see some skin changes. You'll see some joint changes after that 90-day period, but the first markers that you want to track over that time. If you're looking to conceive in the future and you're looking to get your metabolism dialed in before trying to conceive with your partner, for women, you want to check to see if this affects your cycle variance. So if you normally have a cycle every 28 days and it's becoming a little more irregular, you want to see that after doing the things we mentioned in this podcast so far, that you get back down to around 28 days. We want to see that your luteal length is around 11 to 14 days. If it's been dipping less than that and your periods seem to be shorter, one of the things you should see change is that it's back up to like a 28-day cycle or somewhere between 27 to 30 days. You should notice a definitive change in when you're ovulating. So you may have some symptoms of ovulation like cramping and soreness, but increased libido and increased body temperature right around when you should be ovulating. You can test your temperature with BBT charts and labs, but you can also feel the differences, and you would be secreting more cervical mucus around this time. That should come back to normal. And for partner adherence, for men, it would be firmer bodies, better recovery time, and more libido, or increasing the frequency of events when you wake up with morning erections. These are how you track these markers. This raises your odds with a weekly plan that you can do to take away the guesswork and progress even faster. If none of these work, and you're still trying all this, follow along for the more intense version of what to do for this in following podcasts. You could, of course, DM me on Instagram anytime and ask more questions. I have a free health community on School. It's just called East to West Wellness. There you can ask me questions, and I do live Q&As once a month, but you could reach out with questions anytime. I get on there about twice a week to batch my responses to questions. And if you're trying to conceive and you're going to be doing this, your fertility rates will go up sometimes like 30 to 50%. If those changes don't occur after doing this, or they do occur but you're still not conceiving despite trying, tap the link at the bottom of this for a 3-minute fertility scorecard. The scorecard will get you a personalized 90-day roadmap that doesn't fit this exact roadmap and is way more detailed because it's designed for fertility specifically. But everyone who's following the protocol that we mentioned in this podcast will see huge increase in fertility. Even though that might not be your main goal, it'll just by enhancing your metabolism, helping with it, your fertility will go up. All right. So if it's not working for you, or if you have more substantial issues affecting you, and therefore you're doing all these things, but it's not changing, you're not getting a positive pregnancy test, and you're trying despite all of these things, and your symptoms are actually getting better, but still not working, then you'd want to book a 15-minute triage call with myself or one of my team members. There we'll be able to confirm a 90-day customized program and reserve time to set aside to get you something that's more specific. I hope this helps everybody. Please stay tuned for all the more episodes coming forward. My main goal is to deliver value and quantity and quality information. If I'm a little over, speed it up at the end of this video and let me know how else I can help.